the reasons why I see people coming into the mastermind. I think every member I've heard say, if I had been here, I would have been invested in some of those deals that I did in the past that have not gone well. Most of them aren't going to spend 300 grand on due diligence themselves, but it's going to save them from writing some bad checks. We're very different from most groups. You can't pay to play. Somebody has a great deal. They cannot pay us to present the deal. It's the opposite. We make them pay to go through background checks. They have to pass diligence. When somebody invests with us, we don't make a dime off their investments. We are an annual fee. That's how we make our money, right? Where there's some groups out there that are like, hey, let us teach you how to invest. And we also have a fund that we make a huge carry on, and it's biased.
What's up, Ryan? Good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, it's been a year or two since I've been on. Excited.
I know. Well, I'm excited for today's session because it fits perfectly with kind of what's going on in the world. You know, I think the number one thing, I mean, people are just constantly asking me, what's next for Lifestyle Investor, and what's new, and what's your vision of the future? And, you know, just all these things related to what you and I are doing together. You know, the team has grown so much. I can hardly keep up with all the things that we've done. So I figure, why not bring the guy who's running the show, Ryan Casey, back on so we can, you know, kind of talk about and walk through all the things that we're doing, kind of where we were, where we are, where we're going, and maybe highlight some of the cool things that we're building out right now. So glad to have you here.
Yeah, it feels like every few months something happens that's just really amazing that makes us look back and say, wow, can you remember back when it was just this big, or whatever, what's happening with trips and events, all sorts of cool stuff.
Totally. I'm always kind of like pinching myself, like, how do we have it so good? Like, how have we built such a cool thing so quickly? Because, you know, this type of community, I mean, it generally does not grow as strong, as fast, as robust as we've done it. I mean, even other people in the mastermind space are like, you guys are an anomaly. What you've been able to do, how you scaled the number of members, the quality of members, the impressiveness in such short order. And so I feel really blessed to have you on board to help us kind of usher in a new era. You know, it's funny, like I think back to, you know, your big joke is like, you know, Justin, when you started this mastermind, it was held together with duct tape. And that's the truth, because it was me in the beginning. And then we brought on an executive assistant for me who's grown, and those people that know T love T. She's, you know, transitioned into our operations manager. But for, you know, the first few years, it was just her and I kind of holding this thing together. And even earlier days than that, I remember I shot you a text and I was like, hey, I've got some friends that we're doing these little happy hours. You know, we're drinking some good wine and talking about it, and then talking about deals that we're doing, vetting them together. You know, do you want to join? And, you know, it was just like 4 or 5 of us. I think you were number 5 or number 6. And that's really kind of where things got going. And I remember thinking, man, I'd love to have you involved in a greater capacity. And you were kind of like, hey, I've got enough on my plate. I've got these 2 Orange Theory, you know, fitness studios that are 2 of the top in the country. I'm spending time there. You know, you were building out a sales training program at that time, and I couldn't get you to commit, but you wanted to be involved, right? You were like the OG member that wanted to do a little more and didn't just want to be a member. And I think there was a tipping point when I brought on an EOS team that really just didn't fully understand our culture, our dynamic, what we're, you know, the way we were building it. Yeah. And I remember, you know, I don't think I sent you a text. I think you sent me a text and you're like, hey man, if we can move on without the team, I'm ready to step in. Yeah. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
That was, I'm like, I need to fly down. Yep. You know, but when I first got the text, I'm like, this is great. I had just left my job and then COVID happened. So my Orange Theories were closed. So I'm like, I'd love to talk shop with investment. And then when you started it, you know, wanted to be involved, but I'm like, I just want to help. Let me just do a little bit. And it wasn't until kind of that point where, okay, you need somebody who's it was about 2 years later. You've been running it for 2 years, and it was such an amazing group that I really feel like you needed somebody who was familiar with the group to keep the great things happening, but grow it. Also grow the way you wanted it to grow. Because initially, you're the lifestyle investor, and then all of a sudden you had a job.
That's right.
Yeah, I need to get an EA. What do I do with these 1,000 Google Docs? And which was the opposite of what the whole book's about.
That's
So
right.
when I got in, I knew, okay, I know we want to grow it, but I know we don't want to like send you on a road show and be speaking everywhere. Like, how can we grow this and make sure we're all living the lifestyle investor life for the people? That's our top core value with our staff is, hey, we need to be lifestyle investors too. And there's no badge of honor for grinding on our staff there.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we brought you on board because you've really built a lot of the systems, the protocol. You've helped us measure things. I mean, it's when we talk about the structure, you've built so much around the structure. So what would you say you're most proud of and what has changed?
Yeah. I think that was something I wanted to add is to have some kind of flow, have some kind of expectations when people are joining, because really it was, hey, I heard this awesome guy on a podcast and I read his book and I want to get proximity with them and invest in the deals that he wants to invest in. And that was kind of the first couple of years. And one of the challenges is we had such a diverse group. We had people that are hiring W-2s. We had people that just had a monster exit. We had people that are operating their business at a high level, but want to step out of the day-to-day. So it was really tough to say, hey, here's the path for all of you to take, even though you're in totally different positions. And I think we finally cracked a lot of that. And, I can get into it a little bit with, if you've been listening to the podcast, you've been on any of the recent webinars, you hear a lot more about allocation. You hear a lot more about investment criteria. We've always been big on due diligence, but we have much more of a structure. We created the vetting deals course for it. So now when somebody comes in, instead of like jumping on their first deal and writing checks, most of our members don't invest anything for their first 2 or 3 months. They know their first few months is, okay, let me look at what my current allocation is. Let me look at how the wealthy are really investing. And you do such a great job of sharing the info and sharing. It's cool seeing how it changes year to year and where the shifts are happening and why those shifts are happening. And then saying, okay, well, for my personal goals of becoming a lifestyle investor, what would be the right allocation for me? Yeah. And then building out their own investment criteria and then starting to look at a much narrower group of deals that would fit that.
Yeah, and I think also just helping people understand what I like to do is synthesize the data that is out there and what the wealthiest people are doing. So when you think about the billionaire class, the single family offices, and I have plenty of data on multifamily offices as well, but there's a difference between single family office, investment portfolio, investment thesis, and multifamily. So to describe the difference between the two, single family office is usually billionaires, multifamily office is usually multi-millionaires, but usually at like the 50 million or 100 million net worth starting point. And so, I like to democratize that type of content so that it is understandable, it's implementable for our community. And so that's what you're talking about with like your investment criteria, your asset allocation, and then even deal flow. I know we'll jump into it, but in the beginning, it was kind of like, hey, these deals look cool. I'm investing my money in it, and maybe others are interested versus like building actually a robust system, of like more institutional level, institutional grade type of diligence. I think it's important that we wanted to pivot, right? We wanted to go like, how do we make smarter decisions? How do we do less FOMO? Right. My wife's big on JOMO, the joy of missing out. And she's a total contrast to me, where I've spent most of my life in FOMO or shiny object syndrome. Like, how do we get better long-term results? Right.
Yeah, I think, well, you just sharing that JOMO about Jen saying has really impacted the mastermind, where the first couple of years, I remember hearing people like, I really wanted to get into that. And now I hear people like feeling good about saying no. They're like, oh, that was great, but you know what? I didn't hit my investment criteria.
Yep.
They're still investing plenty, but I think it's also changed the type of person we've attracted. I think the first couple of years of the mastermind, we had a lot more people who were new to alternative investing. Yeah. And now as people hear more, they say, I've been investing, but I need to up my game on my due diligence. And I love what we're doing with the due diligence side. So I want to go there because I want to up my game on how do I vet these deals personally and learn how to do that.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. We're going to spend some time there. And I actually think we should break down the 4 different groups that we have, the 3 main masterminds. And then, we've got an open community. But let's start with Lifestyle Investor. That is our flagship product. It's what everything was built on. It's the foundation of everything that we've done. And there's kind of a trickle down effect from there in every other group, right? But no, there's nothing that is as robust or as comprehensive as the investment opportunities, the tax strategies, the member experience for the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind. So, where are we investing right now in member experience?
Yeah. And so the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind is just over 5 years, as it was really almost 6 now, with some of the beginnings, startings with it. But as far as the member experience, one of the biggest changes has been how much we are investing with the due diligence. The early couple of years, diligence was mainly you, and then starting to reach out to your network, which is incredible. Of, okay, this is a real estate deal. Who do I know in the real estate space? That still hasn't changed. But what we've done is now we're putting about $250,000 to $300,000 additional into our due diligence. So we have some AI tools from a couple great groups, but we have a in-house real estate person, and we have an institutional grade process for some of our private equity ones, which is not cheap.
It's not cheap.
But we have a great partnership. They've loved working with us, so they've actually changed how they work with us versus how they work with most of their clients. But these are the types of people where they're investing hundreds of millions of dollars, and our members are able to get access to that with much lower minimums, which is really cool.
And reduce fees. I mean, we do a great job of having reduced minimums, reduced fees, and oftentimes even some preferred terms, like some better returns, better class of investment share. So I think it's really neat. I mean, first and foremost, most people don't get access to them, but secondly, they certainly don't get access at these terms. But I think it's notable to say that we're spending at or upwards of $300,000 a year on our due diligence. And I want people to know that, because I don't know any other group, any other mastermind, any other investment community that's actually doing that. That to me is really important, that we can be kind of like a standalone in that category for the way that we diligence, and really kind of having that institutional grade systematic approach to vetting deals.
Yeah. And that's two of the reasons why I see people coming into the mastermind. I think every member I've heard say, if I had been here, I would have been invested in some of those deals that I did in the past that have not.
That's right.
Gone well. And
That's right.
Most of them aren't going to spend $300,000 on due diligence themselves. But that's going to save them from writing some bad checks. The other thing you mentioned, though, is we're very different from most groups, is that you can't pay to play. Somebody has a great deal, they cannot pay us to present the deal. It's the opposite, right? We make them pay to go through background checks. They have to pass diligence. And when somebody invests with us, we don't make a dime off their investments. We are an annual fee. That's how we make our money. Right? Where there's some groups out there that are like, hey, let us teach you how to invest. And we also have a fund that we make a huge carry on, and it's biased. And so even our sponsors, we have some great sponsors that have deals, but we have them present. We like their deal. We like who they are. And then people are then invited to be a sponsor, where they get access, where they can come to some of our events and be around our members. We don't take money. You can't pay us to put your deal up.
I think that's a great distinction, because most groups in the industry, that's exactly how it is. It's pay to play. And then I think, that there's always a bias where if you can make money on someone else's money, you're always going to promote those types of deals. And by the way, you see this in the institutional realm anyway, like all these, if you make money on assets under management, or you make a carry, or you get some sort of a kickback because you're a wealth manager that is offering deals, there's some sort of fee that you're getting to have those deals on your platform. We wanted to be the opposite of all that, right? People think that, I've heard many times I'm crazy, A, for not having a fund, and B, for not taking a carry because of how much money like we could make. But I wanted to be the one place that really eliminates that bias. And people know that I make money only because my money's in the deal. You make money only because your money's in the deal. That
Same
to me
term.
is the cleanest.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not for lack of offers, because now I have to take all those calls. You like
That's
say,
right.
Justin loves saying yes, so I'm the no guy. If you get a call with me, be careful.
And you know, something else I think that's really cool that's changed are the events that we're doing, and I'd love to talk a little bit about that, because
Where did you just get back from? I mean, you've only been home a few days, right?
That's right. Yeah, I just got back from our Japan lifestyle investor trip. We spent time in Tokyo and Kyoto, and a small little stint there in Osaka at the end. But it was just a world-class trip. You know, our one of our Lifestyle Investor Mastermind members, Stephen Backholm, put it on and did an incredible job. He put on the Mexico City trip that we did last year, where we hit up same thing. Like, we hit up all these Michelin star restaurants, hit up all these, you know, world famous cocktail bars. So in Japan, I don't know, we hit 7, maybe 8 Michelin star restaurants. We hit up the number 18 cocktail bar in the world that's at the Four Seasons, where we stayed in Tokyo. And just had an incredible experience.
You had like Wagyu like at least once or twice a day.
So literally 10 days straight, I had the A5, the Japanese A5 Kobe Wagyu steak, and most days I had it twice. It was so good. Of course, I did a ton of sushi, but my favorite food I've ever eaten is Japanese, just top of the line A5 Wagyu. It is so good.
Oh, delicious. Well, you know, the event, we've had some trips. We have Napa actually coming in a couple of weeks, so I'll be going to that. Casey's it'll be her first trip, lifestyle investor coming as well.
That's going to be fun. Last year was, you know, one of the highest rated, most exciting trips that we've done. So much so that we've turned it into an annual trip with Mario Metavesco, my personal sommelier. We just love Mario.
He's got such great connections. The people love him, and where we can get access to is incredible there. So I'm looking forward to Napa. So we do a few of those trips a year. We do a couple, 2 or 3, where it's trips, usually 7 to 20 people on those. We also have quite a few member meetups where I don't think I've ever seen a post catch fire in our portal as much as when I said, hey, if anybody likes golf, just put golf and we'll tag you golf, so that way you can see which members golf when you're traveling. And within 5 minutes, there's a third of the group on there. So I know we'll have some more golf outings there as well.
Yeah, we've got the Asheville event. We've got the Porsche racing event. They're doing the second one at the Birmingham track. That's getting set up. We got the hogs, the helicopter and hogs hunting event in February. I mean, it's just, we're putting on some pretty cool things. And that doesn't even count like all the, smaller group trips where, last year we did Hong Kong and Taipei City in Taiwan, and we're about to do Dubai and Qatar. And so just so excited for the travel and the life experiences.
Well, with the travel group, we're having present the open community next month. I think we'll probably see a lot more travel on the horizon there from smaller groups putting together.
Yeah, one of the member perks is having a concierge travel company that is really inexpensive, but does incredibly good quality work. I've been working with them this year and have been blown away. And I've tried out a bunch over the years. And this group is just next level. So I'm excited for, another member perk to be, supporting travel and lifestyle and experiences with friends and family.
That should be launching probably around the time people are hearing this podcast. So they'll be excited.
That's right.
The other events that have really been, those are smaller trips, but are live events. So this started 2 years ago. We said, hey, let's do a live event in person. And we did our tax course there. We did a 1-day event. We had Garrett, we had Cody Sanchez there, and we had 40 people, small, intimate. And we said, well, let's do this a couple times a year. And this last year we sold out both times. We had to expand. We were planning on 70. We expanded one to 100. The other one we said, we know we're going to go over. So I think we had 135 people there. Yep. And those were cool because we allowed paid tickets. Very small. I think we cut it off at 25. Both events, 25, and then the rest of them are members and guests. So our members get to go for free versus the paid tickets, $5,000. And most of the people that go to those events, they then want to join the mastermind after they see kind of what the events we put on for our members.
Yeah, and when they get a chance to meet the people, I mean, I think it's such a great way because not only do you have guests that are potential candidates for the mastermind because everyone's vetted ahead of time, right? They're pre-qualified, they're interviewed, but so they can feel it out. But then you have the members that get to feel out, hey, do we like these guests? Are they going to be a good fit? And so it really works well all the way around.
Yeah, those and member feedback has just been great, and from those events where it's the members want to, more members want to come. It's getting to the size of the retreat.
That's right.
So it's great. Anytime we get our members together, I think after the retreat last year, we had this group of members the night after, or was that the last night? And if you hadn't known better, you would have thought that it was a 25-year or 30-year high school reunion. And I think almost every member there was in their first year. That was one of either the first or second time that group had met in person. And it really warmed your heart to see how much the people connect.
That's so cool. Well, and it's fun because, for me, I think it's important that since most masterminds don't do this, is that your spouse can come to anything.
Yeah.
I really want people to do that together. So our year-end retreat, we usually have 90 to 100% member attendance. Most people bring their spouses. So it's, 150 to 200 people every single year. It's a pretty big event. So, it's fun seeing these other live events that we added in that weren't part of the original mastermind, now, becoming so vibrant and people just loving being at them. Yeah. And I think it's also good to kind of mention that our tax bench has gotten deeper, right? I mean, one of our big ROIs for the mastermind, and I would say the single quickest one is tax strategy. You have the right tax strategy, you can cover your annual membership dues in a moment's notice with a single strategy or with a combo of two strategies, but not just that year, every single year. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about our bench there.
Well, that was, I think, one of my first projects when it came in, and this is what we're really trying to do now. We have more information than anybody would need to ROI for years. So newer calls, they're trying to focusing on what's the upcoming trends and how can we filter the information to get things quickly. So our tax strategy database of, I think we're at 65, 70 strategies there. It has links to all the different speakers that have come in. We've just added a couple more strategists over the last few months. We're constantly looking to add top tier tax strategies. And I love, we get sent tax strategies all the time. You have your bench of tax strategists that will vet the strategy. And few of them particular, I love getting Jeff's responses because he doesn't hold back. And he's like,
he does not.
And so when we do tax strategies, we're not looking for, hey, what's the gray area? I don't care. Let's just, can we get away with it? No, we don't want anything to do with that. So we have a good tax strategy bench that we're continuing to increase.
And we say no to most deals, most tax strategies, but I think it's important to recognize that the 65, 70 strategies that we have, most CPAs have never even heard of them. I mean, if they've heard of them, they've heard of maybe like 3 to 5. So, I mean, these are strategies from tax strategists, from tax attorneys, from true like IRS, well-studied expert type of people. That is based on the tax code. So it's not like, hey, can we pull a fast one? This is like, no, this is outlined in the tax code. You can most certainly use it. And, there's supporting case study to show that you can use it.
Past audits.
That's right.
So I think one of that we just created our investment criteria GPT to help people go through that process, creating their own investment criteria. The tax GPT is going to be one of the next there is, kind of instead of, hey, just look through this whole list and see what applies, asking the questions and helping people there. But now we have the resources to back it up. You're not just asking Chat GPT and it's pulling off of the web. It worked with where you're at.
Yeah. And I think it's important for us, we do a lot of world-class education. I want the best and brightest. And one of those categories is tax strategy. So we like to have 3 to 4 people a year, tax strategists coming and sharing, tips and strategies and things that work that most people don't know about. But it's funny because even if we stopped and never did a new session ever again in Lifestyle Investor, literally, we never had a single new education session. Our members could ROI on the existing library that has, over 700 hours of content, and they could just focus on filtering what they need. What do they want to learn about? We've got all kinds of other tools that help decision making around that, but I think it's really cool to have that type of a document library,
Yeah. We have most of our members,
video library.
A handful of hours a month. And they're really pinpoint. And then we have other members that come in. That's their new Netflix.
That's right.
Yeah, we got a lot in there. Do you want to transition to another group here?
Yeah. I think it'd be fun to compare the difference between the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind and the Tribe of Investors Mastermind. I think both are incredible, and I think both, it's really, what's right, the right fit for the right person. But Eric Van Horn and I run the Tribe of Investors Mastermind together with you, Ryan, and we'll talk about, the impact that you've had since bringing you into this group as, really the main guy running the show. But the group has literally doubled in size since you took over. But people hear both names, right? So what is the difference between Lifestyle Investor and Tribe of Investors?
Yeah, well, I think that the Tribe of Investors was born at the Sodak Shindig, right?
That's right.
Where the Eric Van Horn's franchise mastermind met the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind at Darcy's Garage there. We had a big event. And the essence of it, where there's so many people that loved the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind, they weren't quite there as far as it didn't make sense for them financially at that point. To backtrack a little bit, Lifestyle Investor is typically made up, we have about a third high earning W-2s. We have about a third business owners who are active business owners. And then we have about a third who they've had an exit, whether they've sold the business or they're running it passively. They're out of the day-to-day. We have net worths that range anywhere from a few 3 to 5 million, but really 3-5 million up to 500 plus, a wide range. Where Tribe of Investor is more where it doesn't have that third category of people that had the exits. It's closer to 50-50, high earning W-2 or an active business owner running. Most of them, I say, would be a little bit newer to the alternative investment world and in that kind of 1 to 5 million range. So
for net worth specifically.
For net worth, yeah. One of my favorite sayings is that you should always be at least 4 years, your education should outpace your financial success by at least 4 or 5 years. And the Lifestyle Investor, that's spot on. There's so much stuff that'll help you today, but there's always somebody in the group that's higher up on the ladder than you, whether it's through passive income, net worth, whether it's the knowledge in investing in a specific asset class. There's not just one ladder. There's many different ladders. So there's all sorts of people that are ahead of you on those different spectrums.
Yeah,
so
we've got a few people that are going to hit billionaire status probably in the next couple of years in Lifestyle Investor. And obviously that's not the case for Tribe, but there's always someone ahead of you, right? So there's always people to learn from.
Yeah. And so in Lifestyle Investor, you might have a session where that doesn't apply to me today, but now 3-4 years from now, I know that will be something that's on my radar. And that would have never been on my radar if I wasn't in this type of setting.
That's right.
For a Tribe of Investor, it's much more, we're all in the same boat. We're all going through this together. So the education is much more catered to let's make progress now. And, then we've already had multiple people that they're in Tribe for a little bit. Now they're bumping up to Lifestyle. And so that's more of Tribe is let's get you to that next level. We're all in the same boat there, and we can dial in the education a little bit more specific. As far as you want to get in like deal flow?
Yeah, let's talk about the difference in deal flow and curriculum and everything, the experiences.
Yeah. So deals, the deals are the same deals. It's not the same amount of deals. So Tribe of Investor, they don't get a separate deal where Lifestyle Investor doesn't see it. All the deals come through Lifestyle Investor. I love how we do calls on Lifestyle Investor, by the way, because that's one of the most educational parts.
That's right.
People come in, we bring the sponsor on, they do their presentation, there's open Q&A. That open Q&A is so educational where people are hearing, you know what, I would have never thought to ask that question before. I remember a year ago, we got into, and it was an industrial deal, and we were talking about the insurance because it was an area that had heavy hail, and if it demolished the roof, what does the insurance cover, and how does that affect the really nitty gritty stuff that gets into that due diligence?
Because we have members that are experts in, insurance. finance or in industrial or in that geography of the world or the US. It's incredible. So, and then the members are getting smarter and smarter.
Yes.
They have better investment criteria. The questions that they ask, they're learning from everyone else. So every time we do a session, the questions are that much better to the sponsors, like to the point that we've had many sponsors that have said, wow, these are the best questions we have ever been asked ever by a group or a community.
Yeah. And I was doing all of the onboarding until recently. And most members, when they come in, they're like, well, I don't know much about that. I'm going to be kind of bottom of the totem pole. And it's funny to see them 6 and 7 months later asking those questions. So
it's so cool.
Those calls are all on the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind. Then what will happen is we will pass about half of the deals to Tribe of Investor, where they'll get the recording. And initially, when I came into Tribe Investor, I asked, well, don't you want to have some of the live calls? And a lot of them appreciated just the recording because they could learn from people that are a couple steps ahead. It had a little bit more repetitions with the types of investments. So the investments, you do such a great job about negotiating minimums. Most of we get so many minimums. We're at 10% of what their minimum is. Sometimes even less than that.
That's right.
But we still have some that are a little higher minimum, 150 to 250K. Those ones usually don't go down to Tribe. And then because you mentioned how sponsors gave a shout out to our members of the questions they're asking. Another thing we get shout outs from sponsors all the time is how nice it is working with our investors. They love our investors.
They love our group.
Many of the investors are value add too. They're knowledgeable, and sponsors can ask questions and get great feedback and help their whole process. So what we often see is some sponsors will come to us and say, hey, we're already oversubscribed. I have a 2 or 3 million though I set aside for your people. Do you want to, put it in front of them? And it's somebody we've worked with before. We like their deals. They've gone through diligence. Usually Lifestyle Investor Mastermind swipes that up, and that doesn't make it down to Tribe. But the rest of it, they get about half the deal flow, but same process, same due diligence. We spend the same money on it. So that's been really good. And those deals, along with Lifestyle, have continued to get a little bit more institutional, more diligence on them as well, compared to what we were doing 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. And what about, experiences, and even I guess one thing I'll say is Lifestyle Investor has their own retreat. Tribe of Investors has their own retreat. They have access to the live events. It's first come, first serve, right? Because we will hit capacity. We sell them out every time. And there's only, so big that we're able to go or willing to go with the hotels here in Austin.
We don't want to run a 1,000-person event.
That's right. But what's an example of a right now Tribe of Investors topic versus a 2 rungs up lifestyle investor topic?
One of the big ones, one of our topics for the retreat will be, how do we, for tax strategies, how do we negate W-2 income? That's a huge one that we're really going to dive into a lot there. And that happens in Lifestyle a little bit more. But in Lifestyle, you hear more, like PPLI is a great example of, that's not something that's usually going to be covered in Tribe of Investor. Where Lifestyle Investor, that's something that's on a lot of people's radar, either immediately or in the next few years.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about the Foundations Mastermind. So, we've talked about kind of the two bigger masterminds, Lifestyle Investor and Tribe of Investors, but we rolled out Lifestyle Investor Foundations, which is our young adults program. And really, just like any of the other masterminds, there are the 4 ROIs, the 4 areas that members can get a return on their investment. Plus, there's a mentorship engine kind of built in. So Foundations evolved a lot this first year. So what has changed and why?
Well, first, let me say that I think the growth of the mastermind for Lifestyle, Tribe, everything, when we get compliments of, hey, the improvements are awesome, almost all the improvements come from members' ideas.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that I've done the most is just create a feedback loop to, hey, what do you want to hear and how can I implement it? That's what I look at as my main job, because we have so many incredible people. I can't say yes to all the ideas. Most members know that at this point. But so Foundations, what we were hearing is people saying, hey, where was this when I was in my 20s? And is there anything for my kids? So that's why we created it. And we had two members of Lifestyle, I think they're on their fourth year, Nick and Molly Pasternak, who are just amazing human beings.
Yep.
That they were very passionate about it. So they kind of took that on, and I was helping. And we created the Mastermind. We launched it last year. Nick and Molly they got invited to go teach at their former university. So they're so passionate about teaching the youth. So they're doing that. Nick's still involved. You'll see Molly pop in here and there, but I've kind of taken it over. And what we're involving is more of the Mastermind members to come and sit in on some of these guests. But basically, the 4 ROIs that we have for all of our masterminds, the connections is one. Well, with the foundations group, we have people that are in their 20s that are now able to connect to Lifestyle Investor Mastermind people, right? Those are our speakers. They can get a scholarship to attend those live events, or they get I think 60% discount to attend the live events. And just that network. We initially thought it was going to be more kind of college age. We both have Cutco background. We're thinking, okay, those types of young adults. And what we found is most of the people who are joining foundations are late 20s, early 30s, already making 6 figures. Some of them already have some good passive income. They have their first rental. One of them just bought a business their first year in foundation. So she came in in the process, completed it with the help of foundations. And Nick, I know, played a big role there. And the younger people we're getting are the people that say, I want to be in a group with those older 20s, early 30s that are, business owners, investing in rental properties, have that passive income going. So the connections is just massive for that foundations group.
Well, and I thought it was really cool when we ran our first event. First and foremost, the majority of the first wave of members were all kids of the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind members, right? They've been asking us for years, is there a program where we can roll this out to our adult kids? And so that's really the genesis for where foundations even began. But I thought it was so cool at the very first live event that we did for Lifestyle Investor Foundations. We had 3 young individuals, 2 of which were 18 and one of them was 21, and all 3 of them had their very first rental property. Yeah. I mean, just so cool to see. I wish I had gotten to start that early.
Yeah. So we will do calls like Garrett Gunderson's going to be our speaker next month, which will tie in with the third pillar there of tax strategy. But we will have members that'll sit in for some of the discussions so they can share their experience. We also have part of the portal where one of our foundations members can say, I'm looking for this type of opportunity. And that goes into the mastermind section. So they get access to them, and then vice versa, where a mastermind member can say, hey, I'm looking for somebody who wants to learn this type of real estate, wants to have some sweat equity, could help me with this, maybe partner on a deal, and they can put that in the foundations one. And we know these people too. It's not just putting out to that we wouldn't do that in the open group yet, but that's a pretty cool benefit for the foundations people.
I love it. What are the rest of the ROIs here for foundations?
So connections, first one, education is the second ROI. And for our current members, we say, hey, what if every financial decision you made was 1% to 2% better? Talking with people in their 20s, 10 to 50% better. The education has a massive ROI. The tax strategy is another one. The subject Garrett's going to be talking about is 10 to 12 tax strategies that are relevant for that group now. So imagine saving $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 there. And then instead of deal flow, like the masterminds, it's deal evaluation. They get the $2,000 vetting deals courses in there. We're working on building their investment criteria. We already had one member who has said no to 3 deals that he said, I would have said yes otherwise if it wasn't for that investment criteria. Now, it's too early to say what's going to happen with those deals, but he was very happy about that decision of saying no. There's the JOMO, the joy of missing out, coming out again. So that's the deal evaluation. We also are building kind of a database of good first potential investments.
Yeah. And did you mention the 25-year-old that bought a business is actually making $6,000 a month in passive income? Did you mention that?
Two separate. That's so we have one person that bought their business. She's doing amazing. But then we have somebody else who's hit $1 million net worth, $6,000 a month in passive income, 25 years old. They're both 25.
It's incredible. Yeah. I just love it.
So he's actually on the next week or this week.
Yeah. So what's a concrete first step a foundations member can take in month 1?
Uh, what's really cool is one of our first members, Austin Oberbillig, was my former mentee at Cutco. He still lives by me. We kind of met. He loves getting involved and helping. So he went through all of our recordings the first year, and we've kind of created this roadmap of here are the starting points. So it's just diving in, and it's kind of asked a question: where are you at? Here's where you start. So I could spend a half hour on that, but I would just say our roadmap of the first year's worth of content.
I love it. Well, Austin's done such a great job. I'm so excited to have him, doing really helping lead the charge there in the foundation's community. I want to pivot here to the open community though, because, this is kind of the first step, I think, for most listeners, right? So like, what if someone's not, they're listening right now, or they're watching this, but they're not ready for a mastermind. Maybe they're not quite ready to make that investment yet, or they don't have the time maybe. Where could they start?
So we have the open community, and we'll post the link for that in there. But really, you can go to lifestyleinvestor.com/invite. And our mission has shifted over the last couple of years. First, we said we want to be the best investment education company. And I wanted to scrap the company. We want to be the best education community. That's what people love about the masterminds. And we get so many people say, hey, I read the book and I went to talk to my neighbor about whole life investing and tax strategy and asset allocation. And they just looked at me like I was nuts. So where do I go to talk to people about these types of things? And that's what we created with the open community. It's totally free. Actually, going back to foundations, the foundations event from last year where we kicked it off, that's all free in the open community. The session we did, the passive income roadmap, has been one of our most popular sessions. We've had great feedback from members. That's free in the open community. Best of whole life. We've had all these little sections that people have covered whole life. It's one of the things we get the most questions about. So we've taken those sections out and we've made the best of whole life. That's free in the open community.
So what isn't in the open community, so that expectations are clear? What is a mastermind only thing versus, what's an open community thing?
Well, rarely are you in there. I think you did a webinar here or there, maybe a couple times a year. So we do an education call, maybe one a month. But you get me as the host instead of Justin, so you get the B team on there. But there's no deals. We don't present any deals. There's always people talking about deals and things, and there's a lot of chatter, but we won't vet a deal. We won't then present it to that main group. Those stay restricted for the mastermind. The tax strategy database, all the member perks. We have so many. We have longevity perks from different groups we work with. All of those are reserved for mastermind members.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I mean, it's growing at an incredible clip. I think we're going to eclipse 2,000 active participants in the free community, in that open community. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
So why do Lifestyle Investor Mastermind members send their friends there first?
Oh, well, that's one of the reasons why everything we try to add is first filter is how can we make this a value add for our mastermind members first. And we got so many people where they would say, I really think my friend would be good for the mastermind. I'm not doing a good job explaining it. Can you jump on a call with them, or can you do this? And so what we also want to do is, hey, let's create that open community. Our members can invite anybody and they can kind of get a taste of what we do in the mastermind. It's the same type of setting. We usually have a lot more people on calls because we have 2,000 people in there versus, 100 plus in the mastermind. But we will share the topics. And the mastermind members will say, oh, hey, friend, they're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill, or, scaling businesses, and invite people in there.
I love it. Well, I think we've got to spend some time talking about our biggest new project right now. We're in the process of writing a kid's book. It's almost done, but I want to talk about why that matters to the movement. And, you've really championed building the next generation, right? So help us understand what this kid's book is all about.
Well, I was reading a book to my daughter about financial literacy and things. And, she's 8, turning 9 here, actually, at the end of the week. And I just this is good that she's hearing some of this stuff and she's interested. She's looking for jobs and how to make money. But I'm like, we could do better. And so that's been the project that we've really started at the beginning of the year. And this summer, we did a lot of work with it. And we launched it, kind of soft launch at the September event, told people about it. There's a few changes we're making, but I'm so excited for it. It's, the journey is basically the Savannah, the main character. She needs to she qualified for regionals, needs $2,000 to go. And her parents are like, no, we're not going to give it to you, but we'll help you, show you how to earn it. And she partners with the other kids, and there's a free parents guide. There's a workbook with it. But it's a story. It's a story format versus just here's some bullet points on a financial principle.
Yeah, and I think it gives parents a simple way to teach money and investing principles and even scaling business principles early, right? We have the section at the end that's like, hey, 2 different paths. If you're a younger kid, try these things out. If you're an older kid, try these things out. And so, I think our goal is to really appeal to every level, right? So you've got lifestyle investor at the top, you have tribe of investors in the middle, you've got foundations with the young adults, and now you've got a kids book that appeals to, kids that are 6 to 13-year-old for maybe that younger tier, and then 14 to 18-year-olds for that older tier. I just, with action steps, it's really a cool thing, and it's been fun authoring a book with you, Ryan, and having characters based on our, the 4 characters are our 4 kids, which is so cool.
And it's a different financial book that I think a lot of people, there's some lessons people learn in their 40s and 50s of, the kids that, hey, it's not just grinding. Hey, we hit this big goal, but we don't feel great about hitting the goal. What's next? And it's learning how to appreciate the journey, learning about gratitude, not just about how can I make more money. Some lessons that are lifestyle investor principles, not just the investor, but the lifestyle part of it, especially.
Yeah, let's kind of transition here to some common early stage mistakes. I want to talk about some of the top mistakes that we see, but I also want to talk about how our ecosystem helps prevent those mistakes.
Yeah, when I took over with Foundations Group, one of the questions I got was, hey, what was your biggest learning thing from lifestyle investor that you wish you'd have known when we were our age? And it was creating a personal investment criteria. I think back to my 20s, most of the investments I made, and we did Cutco. I made 40 grand when I was 18 selling knives. We had some money to invest when we were young. But all of my investments came from recommendations of other people. What is my dad investing in? What is my division manager investing in? What are these people? What am I hearing about? Versus really diving in and learning. And that whole like a mile wide, inch deep versus an inch wide, a mile deep. If I had a personal investment criteria, investing in when I was 18 to 20 would have been a way different position than I am now financially.
Totally. It wouldn't be a random portfolio. It'd be an intentional portfolio based on people that have had a high level of success out there, so, and data points of what the ultra wealthy actually do, right? Where they're putting their money.
And that's still a mistake that most of our members come in. That's the first thing they're doing is I haven't honed in on my personal investment criteria. So that's one. Chasing shiny deals is a big one. Paying attention to asset allocation, having a balanced portfolio versus, hey, this is working. I'm going to put all my eggs in this one basket, and then the economy changes and that basket is tipped upside down. Waiting until the end of the year for taxes, as opposed to thinking, we talk about there's, real tax strategy is thinking multiple years out. What are strategies that you can put in place now? So when 3 years from now, you're not saying, hey, how do I reduce this year's? You already have most of it baked in.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's important that we're, throughout the year going through tax strategies, every quarter kind of digging into that. And I think, making sure that we're not investing right out of the gates, that we're pausing for, 60 to 90 days. So, and just kind of wrapping this kind of section up, I think investment criteria first, deals second, right? Don't focus on getting into a deal until your investment criteria is done. And we have a lot of, I feel like you specifically have a workshop on it, but we do a great job equipping our members there. And you don't have to be a member to be equipped because we do a lot of this in our open community. And then secondly, if you can't write your no's, then you're not ready to say yes. Right? You got to know what you're saying no to. You got to know what you actually want out of a deal. Do you want cash flow? Do you want it to sit long term? Do you want to get it back as quickly as you can? Do you want to recycle it? What type of risk tolerance? I mean, all these things we've got to figure out.
Yeah. And so much of it just goes back to what are your initial goals? The whole point of investing is to get you in life where you want to be. Right? So you need to start with that.
And real quick, where does AI fit into all that we're doing, but without losing our human judgment and human aspect of doing things?
Yeah, where we're trying to use AI is more to just simplify the process and keep it personal. So like our investment criteria, the GPT doesn't, you just don't plug in, hey, what should I invest in? It interviews you. So it's getting you, what are your, how do you feel about risk and how much time you want to spend and what are your main goals? So that's how we're kind of structuring our AI, is more just to filter through the information there than replace your thinking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, let's talk about what's next here. For different listeners, what are the next best steps that they can take?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you and I had a big conversation about when the mastermind hit 50 people, did we want to expand? And when it got to 100, it was infinitely better. More people answering questions. The ask for help section in our circle account is my favorite section because it's a place where now that mastermind is a sounding board for any decision.
That's
And
right.
so we've recently talked about, do we want to expand past that 100? And we've said, yeah, we want to go to more of that 130, 150 range. So for the mastermind, that's one of the growth. We're looking to grow that more aggressively than what we have really ever in the last couple of years. The open community, like our big goal now is to make this lifestyle investor movement. We'll have some merch stuff coming out. T's working on that with some hats and shirts and things like that. But really, how many people can we grow that in that lifestyle open community? The kids book, how many conversations can we start creating at the dinner table with kids and families?
Yeah,
And how many parents are going to be like, wait, what did you read?
that's
Tell
good.
me about that chapter. Well, that's it's a little shift in thinking there, and how can, oh shoot, this is what my kid's reading. How can I, make sure I'm setting the example for some of those decisions there. Yeah, we just want to keep growing and involving more people in the process.
Yeah, I love it. And, I just want to challenge everyone listening and everyone watching to really make a decision on one of these four categories. Not all of them involve a financial investment. They'll all involve some sort of a time investment, but there's an opportunity. One that doesn't cost anything. And then there are, depending on where you're at in life, there's three other tiers, whether it be for young adults, kind of the mid tier with Tribe of Investors, or our flagship offer, which is the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind. But I would just challenge everyone listening and everyone watching, pick one of these four categories and move forward, because it's going to help you take the next step. And for those of you that think you're ready for the Lifestyle Investor Mastermind, I don't think there's a better place out there to help people build wealth, to help people become better, smarter, sounder in their decision making, especially around investing, tax strategy, education on a myriad of different things, but then, of course, deal flow and creating passive income. So, Ryan, thanks for joining us. This has been awesome. People can always go to lifestyleinvestor.com to figure out, more of what you want. You can go to lifestyleinvestor.com/mastermind, and that's where you can apply. But I always like ending every episode with a question for our audience. So, in common fashion, what is one step you can take today to move towards financial freedom and really move towards living the life you desire on your terms? So again, not a life by default, but a life by design. And what's one thing that Ryan and I discussed today that could kind of usher in a new era for you moving into financial freedom? Thanks so much for your time, and we'll catch you next week on our next session.
Thanks, Justin. It's been awesome.